Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James, the Fat Man Stevens, Rob, the old guy, and holy crap, we have a new guy for the guest today, since he hasn't been on in 6 weeks. It seems like Brian Preston.
Yeah. He's here.
I guess not.
Don't get excited. I'm just going to sit here silently.
Yeah, he's just going to be quiet.
So you can.
Although I will.
Over my role.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we marveled about last week, and Ryan, don't take this wrong, but the swear level was virtually none last week, and we got talking.
See, you guys need me. Apparently,
yeah, apparently there was a whole reason we kind of went. Wait a minute. Our swear machine was broken.
I actually had somebody who's a fan of the show going, can you guys either say you cuss a lot or maybe back it off?
Start the show. We have to, the disclaimer.
I'm just going to shoot soap bars at Ryan's mouth every time he cusses.
And we're going to hear about Ryan's mouth more after this. Today's show is brought to you by Audacity, the unforgettable party game for mischievous people. They have online monthly game nights on Discord, so make sure you stop by their Facebook page for event times and dates. You can also grab a free quarantine version of the game straight off their website. Audacity, the unforgettable party game for mischievous people. And just for an update, y'all, they have a live sometime this week. I think it's the 6th of March. They're having another online game night. Make sure you check it out and download the pack from their website.
6th of March. Is that Ives of March?
All right.
So, there's a headline I did not expect to read, and it's quite hilarious. And
you're still going to read it.
It's hilarious, and it's almost a medical test. Well, you'll see.
Ryan will get it.
Japan asks China to stop anal COVID tests on Japanese citizens.
I love it. Love it.
And this is,
the dedication that the Japanese people have.
I'll tell you, huh?
You know, like, I mean, how many people were just like, all right, man, I guess if it's for the greater good, go ahead.
I also recently,
Japanese just went right along with it.
I also read a headline. I didn't read the article because it's one of those things you put away, and then when you click your phone on again, it disappeared. But apparently, some of the U.S. were asking China to stop doing that to our the diplomats.
You're saying that some of our diplomats actually went ahead and said, "Oh, sure, go ahead and give me an anal COVID-19 test." Yeah,
they were looking for smuggled items, I guess.
COVID.
You know, I've always had a real problem with the anal, like you do this a lot for children or whatever, the anal
temperature gauge
thermometers.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's just more accurate, and you don't have to have it like plus or minus 2 degrees. It's like, you know what? Do the math. I have faith in you, science. Figure it out. Stick some shit in my kid's ear. I get, he's not going to be able to sit steady at 1 year old with a thing under his tongue. But that's what you got the ear thing for. Like, don't be a dick.
Hey, you just go with the high-low. How bad can it be, right? I mean, a degree here, a degree there. Pff, big deal. Kid's fine.
Great. All of a sudden, it's like poker. I'm either getting a deuce or a queen. That's helpful. Already, the United States has protested to China after learning some of the U.S. officials were subjected to the testing method, according to CNN.
Oh, my God.
Many Japanese employees in Beijing have criticized China carrying out coronavirus tests using anal swabs as an action that would humiliate people.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
And could violate their human rights and dignity.
They were violated,
I was
all right.
Say, are they claiming it's a violation of the Geneva Convention?
Yeah, right.
So here's my question.
It'll be added.
Was this be like in the airport when you get asked to, excuse me, sir, would you please come with me when you're about to get the glove they used to impregnate cows, or they just bend you over in front of a bunch of people and then continue to probe away for some sort of viral?
That's just the day you hope you don't have a slick in your underwear, man.
Honestly,
surprising everybody. Surprise anal Anal swab.
Honestly,
I didn't know it was a thing.
if I was going to get a surprise spot check, I'd defecate my pants just to give them a surprise. It's like, hey, if I'm getting humiliated, you know,
yeah, how would you like to be the test person for that one?
Yeah, hoping somebody.
Yeah, you know, I swear, I've heard a lot of people say something to that effect. I'd shit my pants just to make it a horrible experience for them, or I'm going to prison and I fear shower rape. So I'm gonna just walk around with like a crusty ass all day or whatever. Like I don't think anybody actually has the conviction to go through with it.
I'll be honest. It depends. If I was forced to be in some sort of like post-apocalyptic line and I'm being forced to bend over, I'd drop one like it was hot.
Oh man!
By the way, sorry for the bad, THX 1138 image in your head, because that's what I was picturing.
What a way to start out.
Now, I love the fact that we started this show by saying we're going to have a cleaner show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and also I wanted to mention this again. You don't put in like an explicit label on these things in general.
It's explicit. I've never said this show was family friendly. Matter of fact, I had people say, "Hey, is Real Flicks Reviews family friendly?" I said,
but it depends on which week.
Yeah.
Which week you
whiny fucking babies telling you to tone it down.
Well, that's my question was like how old exactly? If you're talking about like 20-year-olds, they need to grow up. If you're talking about 6-year-olds, you may want to stick to having them watch Baby Shark.
Yeah, maybe don't play this in your car on the way to drop them off at school.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought it was kind of funny. You talk about cleaning your language, and then I talk about, being anally swabbed. So I thought it was rather hilarious.
Good segue.
Exactly.
I get that in certain segments, in certain moments, we can definitely lull somebody into a false sense of security. These guys haven't, been swearing or talking about anything crazy, and then
boom,
John or James will left turn this shit into some just like, whoa, we're talking about that now. Okay.
Kings of the bad segues.
That should be your title, John.
King,
and it's not like the segue where the guy drove off the cliff. That's not what I'm talking about.
No.
Oh, have you guys watched any of the Michael Franzese YouTube channel?
I don't know who that
Crickets. You got crickets going in here.
What the hell are you talking about?
Michael Franzese. He was.
No one knows this person.
Oh, he was a capo in the New York mob.
We all know all the capos in New York.
Well, he was.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the mobsters in the 80s or 90s that turned.
Oh yeah, I think I got his picture up on my wall connected with some yarn to other pictures.
Yeah, this coming from the guy who I've said, hey, have you listened to this YouTube channel? It's like, oh, I've been listening to forever. Stop that. But
look, I grant you that we all get into some esoteric shit every now and again.
Yeah, we'll go down the rabbit hole.
Built a friendship.
John?
It's Michael Franzese. It's Franzese. He was the guy who was doing the New York gas scam. He's been on like History Channel shows talking about it. He has a YouTube channel. He's talking about actual mob stuff. His name has been brought up in some of those mob movies. I think it was Goodfellas. If you get a chance,
Did you just say Goodfellas?
How am I supposed to say it? What is it?
Goodfellas.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
Goodfellas.
Fella.
Jesus Christ, I don't work in a fucking university.
Fellas.
Okay.
You finally pronounce something right and you get a bunch of shit for it.
Right?
Okay.
It's like when I mentioned Christoph Waltz.
That is true. I get the irony.
Okay, so where are we going with this guy, John?
Yeah, where are we going with this?
Oh, I just wanted to mention, if you guys ever want to watch a really interesting conversation, this guy sits down with 3 of his kids in like a sit down interview, and they're talking to him, and it was one of the most interesting things I've heard, because this guy was a legitimate mobster, one of these really dangerous guys, and he just sits down and talk about mob life, and it's one of the more interesting like slices of life type of things.
Hey,
he knows this is going to get him killed.
I think I'd rather watch the episode where Meadow finds out that her dad's not just a sanitation worker.
That's a good episode.
It was.
Yeah, we all need cleaners.
Jeez.
I mean, just with the lifestyle they were living, I don't know how she really thought he was.
Yeah, no, he's like a garbage man, but he's like a supervisor. That's how we live in this mansion.
A really good one, a really well-paid supervisor.
Well, yeah.
He picks up a lot of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody have a story? If not, I've got one more, which is hilarious. Twitch censors live Metallica concert with dorkiest music imaginable.
So they had Twitch as the opening act.
So Twitch is a streaming service. So Metallica was doing a concert, and because they're afraid of getting a violation, they Twitch pulled the stream and replaced it with like really cheesy music. And a lot of
what kind of violation was it again?
Probably because they were playing live. They were playing Metallica music, and Twitch was probably afraid of getting in trouble for it.
Wait, who was playing Metallica music?
Metallica.
Twitch. Yeah.
Okay, so the streaming
Metallica was doing a live
service Twitch.
Yeah. So
I see. So it was not Metallica sanctioned. Some asshole was just recording it.
Let me restate it. What I said. Metallica was on Twitch playing a concert, and Metallica was playing their own songs, and Twitch pulled Metallica's concert and replaced it with cheesy music.
There was some adult content in the Metallica's music. And Twitch decided that it's not appropriate for our audience. Kind of sounds like we started out like.
What most likely happened is they had. What most likely happened.
Not on Twitch. That would have. They some of their people are savages.
What most likely happened, it was an auto system that heard these tunes sounded familiar, but everybody's laughing because they're the reason why Napster and a couple other of these organizations got pulled down, and it happened to them when they're playing, their own music live.
That's actually why I'm assuming that you're right as far as like it was just some like algorithm that heard Metallica and somebody plugged Metallica in because they know they're super litigious about that kind of thing. And it was just like this auto, like, oh, Metallica, we gotta block this. So
this was sanctioned by Twitch, right?
Well, it's.
Well,
I
mean, or Twitch is a thing.
No, I understand.
You can just basically sign up for and you stream whatever you want. So it sounds like Metallica just had an account and decided to start throwing it up there.
Got it. But Metallica sues all the time when their music is used without their permission.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like if I wanted to go on and do some Twitch stuff, play some games or something, and I had Metallica music playing, something in their algorithms like, nope, can't do that because we're going to get sued by Metallica.
Got it.
When you hear a 12-minute song with a 5-minute solo, oh, Metallica, or at least the late stuff. The new stuff, not so much.
You know how much energy it takes to do 5 minutes? There's a lot.
I was listening to some Pink Floyd earlier and sort of lamenting on the lack of guitar solos nowadays, but, whatever. Is what it is.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's all right. So we all have. So, James, you got something? Go ahead. I can always get back to mine.
So last year Sturgis was coming around and we discussed all that, remember? So they're also thinking about holding another Sturgis rally this year.
Talking about the Black Hills rally?
Yeah. South Dakota. Sturgis, South Dakota.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, they're going to hold it in
trying to learn from what they did last year and trying to make it more, I guess, COVID friendly.
Well, everything went wrong. Whatever could go wrong went wrong is my understanding about last year's Sturgis. And, they were thinking maybe 20,000, 30,000, some people would show up, and apparently they had 250. Yeah.
It's Sturgis. You get
they weren't ready for it.
You get a bunch of motorcyclists.
It's all us biker guys, We're all the problem.
Well, technically, you own a bike. So.
I have a Harley.
Yeah, so you're a Harley owner.
Well, I've been to Sturgis.
Yeah, so have I. But not during the rally. We visited once.
Well, you did. Mom and I also visited Sturgis during the rally.
It's okay. But so what? So did they say what they're going to try to do?
Learn from what they did last year and try to keep it to a smaller gathering, which I don't see how they're going to even do that, and how they're going to even get people to wear masks. I mean, a lot of motorcyclists wear masks when they're on their bikes just to keep bugs out of their face.
Well, they also don't want the cops to know what they look like
around when they're walking around.
You'd be surprised. Hey, man, I've got a warrant. I'm going to wear this mask. Nobody's going to know.
Hey, it like worked for
perfect.
It worked for Clark Kent, man. It can work for me.
Right. There's it's perfect for them. They're going to love it. It just makes it hard drinking beer.
I'm sorry, I keep jumping in late.
It's all right. I just kept saying wearing a mask makes it really difficult drinking beer.
That's why you look, that's why you have a straw.
Sure Yeah, there are people that have like straws attached to their mask, and they can drink things through them. And
yeah, just get like a Camelback.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds even worse.
Warm beer.
Warm beer and a rubber bladder. That's
Yeah.
There's some
dry ice in that shit.
We're talking about funny things like about historical figures. One of the things I was looking up here that there are many people who make real impacts in the world over the years, and some of them done such wonderful things. You got to believe they're actually great people, but you know what? They're really not. And it's kind of interesting to some of the few that I pulled up. I was looking today on the web for some of the people that we may have thought were really
Thomas Edison.
Well, how about Gandhi? Okay, Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh, he was a scumbag.
Oh my goodness, this man was awful.
He slept next to his niece or something like that to try to test his purity.
Well, so he was one of the most peaceful men of all time, so they tried to claim. He did a lot of supposedly good things, but he was also a sex addict. And I mean, some of the things that this guy did, if you want to look up some stuff that's just unbelievable.
Is like a short list? Was he like Carlos Danger and sending dirty pictures, or was he doing like full on like?
So yeah, I mean things like his dad was dying and left his dad's bedside to go have sex with his wife, and he was 15 at the time. And his wife was 16. So, and then at the age of 38, he took a vow of chastity and he tested his sleeping with women while naked. Some of them as young as 18-year-olds, even younger. I mean, come on. I mean, what a great guy.
So what's the next person on the list?
Well, let's go to one of our favorite ones that we've talked about before. Good old Steve Jobs.
Jackass.
So a lot of us own Apple products, and they're pretty darn good products. But, if you put Steve Jobs on a pedestal and kind of put him out there and said, hey, he's a really great guy.
We're on the pedestal.
As long as you're not downwind. If you're upwind from Steve Jobs, you're probably a little better off.
Yeah.
Because that dude stank from everything I've ever heard.
Well, not only that, recently they're even pulling in more stuff about when Apple first started producing their products over in the Chinese factories. He walked the conditions, and he saw some of the conditions were so bad, driving people to exhaustion, and several workers committed suicide over the pace of making these phones and things, and he was perfectly fine with it.
Oh, see, I was thinking this is iPhone. I was thinking like maybe the Apple IIe or like the first Mac.
Yeah, this is
recent.
Recent.
Wow.
Because we already know his history of being the scumbag.
Yeah. Ask Steve Wozniak.
Well, there is more. I did look into the story with Steve Wozniak, and part of the problem with Steve is that he sold off some of his stock, and that became his own problem. But he still ended up just fine. Well, he's got no complaints.
Well, there's one of the stories I've always heard that was about Steve Wozniak designing like a game like a video game or something along that lines, and then Steve Jobs ripping him off. And Steve Jobs is just, He
wasn't a great guy. Of course, he's not around to kick around either.
Like John Lennon.
Here's another one of your favorite guys. How about Walt Disney? This is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who could anybody think, the creator of Mickey Mouse and the Magic Kingdom could be a mean person? Turns out he was worse than the Wicked Witch in Snow White. He was a racist. In meetings, he referred to the seven dwarves as a bleep pile, which is horrible. He also used the term pickaninny in meetings, which is an old-fashioned offensive term for black children.
Ladies and gentlemen,
he also didn't respect women.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue on this is just showing examples of what Mr. Walt Disney would say. This has anything to do with...
one of his worst things was? He hated cats.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, out of all the things,
I had to try to figure out if that was the musical.
I'm even more okay with that. Was he anti-Semitic? Because that was the thing I've always heard about Disney. Is he didn't like Jews for some reason.
You know what? Going down his list of what he didn't like, there were so many things that kind of went, I'm going to stop it where my notes stopped because he was.
Your notes are full.
Yeah,
I'm recalling an article I had read, this whole giant fucking piece on how Mother Teresa was kind of a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember exactly what the details. I'll have to pull it up and report back on that one. But I remember it being incredibly scathing. One of those just like wait a second. All I ever heard, was this like legend of Mother Teresa, and just used as the example. She was the Kleenex of nuns.
Well, one of the things they said was that her motives weren't pure. That really her focus was just more on boosting the numbers of Roman Catholics than more than anything else. And so she used her position to do that. And if it looked good for her and Roman Catholics to help the poor, that's what she did. So she was all about optics, apparently.
So I have,
like I said, I'll have to look it up, because I remember being like, oh wow, this lady is disturbed.
Yeah. I've heard stories about the herb withholding medicine, etc.
Yeah, there've been all kinds of rumors going around. So,
I was going to say, I don't want to.
So I
talk
do
out of school, and
I do actually have to talk. We're going to talk about.
I don't want the Roman Catholics to come down on us.
If we want to talk about people who are
fuck the Catholics, but I would like to be correct if I was about to talk some shit about a venerated historical figure.
Yeah, it's probably.
So if we want to talk about people who are scumbags or possibly scumbags, I generally don't have heroes, and this guy was a hero of mine, a gentleman by the name of Ravi Zacharias. He was one of the world's greatest apologists who recently died last year. And one of the things he did, he had a ton of honorary doctorate degrees. So he used to call himself Dr. Ravi Zacharias. Apparently it's not frowned on, but he wasn't a legitimate doctor. But apparently he was
a pervert.
Yeah, there's a pervert. Now,
great.
There was a report done on, and then some people don't believe it, some people do. But there's enough evidence to lean that the way it was, like he would pleasure himself in front of people. He owned a massage parlor. He owned a couple of apartments.
Massage parlors.
Yeah, and so there's a bunch of evidence against him. His ministry RZIM, which is named after him, ironically enough. Basically,
ironically enough.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So I just gonna say there's a bunch of stuff that says that he was not exactly as pious, because I remember him preaching against some of the stuff that he did. He would say, when you're in a leadership, you need to be careful, and yada yada. It turns out this guy who was
the world is full of hypocrites.
Yeah. No, but the
piety always comes out to me as that. My skeptical panda goes up, and I immediately just start, thinking like okay, thou dost protest too much.
There was a mega church pastor a number of years ago, 5, 10, 15 years ago, who allegedly got caught with a gay prostitute. And this was the guy that was speaking against homosexuals. And Ravi was one of the guys that allegedly, it's like, this is okay. We just need to get through this. And so he would help fallen pastors. He would, he spoke against some of the stuff he did. So I don't know. It really bothered me, because it's like, at least, you don't have to pretend to be pious, and most people will forgive you. But if you pretend to be pious and then you speak against it, most Christians will, there's very little redemption back from that. It takes a lot. And I was really hurt by that. And his kids too. That's the part. His kids and his wife.
Well, maybe that's why I don't have heroes.
Yeah, because for the longest time, I remember in school, I used to get made fun of. People like, oh, do you have any heroes? I said, I try not. As a kid, I said, I try not to. And they're like, why not? Because you don't want to say, what would happen if you meet your hero and he turned out to be a bad person? I don't like that. I don't like being let down. I'm a realist.
Well, that's why all of my heroes are fictional characters.
There you go.
Yeah, but then
because then
you hear about Richard Dean Anderson. He turns out to be a piece of shit. So it's like, he's
who's Richard Dean Anderson?
MacGyver.
Oh, wow.
It's an old reference. It's okay.
It's within his lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He was alive in the tail end of the 80s.
But the thing is was Richard Dean Anderson the actor?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. In real life, he's a jerk.
His character was his character. We were talking the other week about cops liking Punisher versus Captain America. You know, like Punisher should not be your role model. Fine to like him as an entertainment thing, but you know, if you're gonna choose somebody as a role model, maybe like Captain America. And I was thinking like yeah, he does. Yeah, there's more real characters and there's more, you know, human things, but that's not what we want to aspire to be. You know, we want to fail at being Captain America, not succeed at becoming a mediocre person.
I don't know what that says about me because my favorite heroes are Batman and Wolverines.
Batman, huh?
Well, look, I'm sorry. Favorite has nothing to do with what you idolize. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a huge, I fucking love Batman more than most fucking people. I would not want to be Batman, nor do I think that there should be a Batman.
Yeah, I'd have to lose my dad. I'd rather not have to go through that.
Well, just the idea of fucking vigilante justice, I'm morally against.
I'd be Alfred.
Alfred was badass.
No, for sure. That's who you want to be. But Alfred, his skill set is fucking deeper than Batman's is.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this happens to be the cussing segment of the show. After this, there shall be less cussing.
Have you watched the series Pennyworth?
Is it any good?
It's good.
What is it on?
It's on Netflix. Netflix.
I'll have to.
Amazon
Did they
Prime.
go with the like ex-British Special Forces version?
Right.
It started with him being in the SAS in the start of World War One. And the original canon was he was literally just, you know, like his father was worked for the Waynes, and he more or less, you know, was trained to work as a gentleman's gentleman. Yeah.
You know, and he just kind of developed a skill set that, you know, out of necessity.
Yeah.
But I love the later versions where he was like, oh no, he had a life before this. He, you know, British Special Forces and you know, did some time, you know, in the motor pool, you know, as a mechanic, and, you know, things that ended up being incredibly useful.
I do love how the fact that they start him off as some sort of just a standard butler, and to fit the story of how Batman and Bruce Wayne have all this stuff
together.
Like all these inventions, like, you know, okay, instead of Bruce Wayne being some super intelligent know-it-all, he has the butler who makes some of this stuff for him. It makes a little bit more sense.
Well, Lucius Fox was always a character. It was just never really brought up in the show, TV show, or the movies until Batman Begins. You know, dropped him in there.
No. The 90s Batman, he was in there. In the 90s, Batman, he was the one who actually made the car.
Batman, but he wasn't very prominent.
He was in.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
He made the 90s Batman. He made the original Batmobile, the fancy.
You're talking about the 89, right?
Yeah, it's the Gothic Batman. It's the one everybody likes.
Right.
The animated show.
Yes.
Right.
Right after.
I'm sorry. 89 was the movie. 90.
Yeah, it was
3 or 4.
Yeah, it's the one that was really kind of took the stylistic cues off of the 89 Batman.
But yeah, thank you, well, the secret to that is they actually drew everything on black construction paper.
Yeah, I heard that.
So, I mean, no matter what, like all the blank spaces were dark.
During the storyboarding. Yeah.
No, during the animation.
Yeah, I mean, even the actual animation and the art, you know,
they did black paper. So they had to bring up the lights instead of bringing the darks.
Right, and it said it gave a completely different feel to it, you know, even as they were, you know, doing the artwork.
Yeah, it was. It's one of the most amazing cartoons, like visually, just like even the style is amazing. It's I forgot exactly the name of the style. So if you get
kind of a noir sort of a Art Deco kind of a feel.
That's it, Art Deco. That's it.
Well, since I brought up Pennyworth, it's worth watching because it shows you how Wayne and Alfred.
What was your guys' opinion on Gotham?
I never watched it because of
You're talking about the new one, which started with him as a child.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't watch it because after like you guys saw it and like I was excited until you said, "Oh, they name dropped everybody at the first episode." It's like, okay, and then I tried watching.
They name drop everybody throughout the whole first season, and then they just keep going and going and going. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
this.
and all of a sudden you're realizing like, okay, in this version of Batman, you know, he's just known everybody since he was 9.
Yeah.
You know, he went to fucking school with Poison Ivy, and, you know, so like all of those conversations he's going to be having later with these people is like, dude, remember when we were kids?
So
why are you doing this?
It's the same issue I had with Smallville.
There's a place for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's a place for that. Some people really like that. My wife would prefer to watch that version than watch some of the other more darker versions that I actually liked, and it's all where you're coming from, I guess.
I prefer the darker.
It would be like
Batmans.
Pennyworth. All of a sudden, you know, you're watching Pennyworth, and all of a sudden, he's meeting everybody that, you know, Batman's going to meet later on.
Right,
possibly,
exactly right. And
possibly, but interesting enough, this takes actually place in London. And in England,
which is perfect.
It's like you don't out to London, and you're like, oh, there's Poison Ivy.
You're right.
Well, I haven't done that yet, but yeah,
there, you know, when he's a baby or something, you know. And look, I'm fine with a little bit of fan service. Okay, like that's what was fine. Like a lot of the gripes people had with the newest versions of Star Wars, with 7, 8, 9, and all of the fan service. It's like, look, I'm fine with a lot of that. You know, the little nods to the past. But with Gotham, they could have very easily done it with like, hey, you know what? This episode, we're not going to follow Gordon or Bruce. It's just going to be in this other part of Gotham where this convergent thing is happening. You know, a little origin story here and there, but not everybody has to know each other.
I think,
you know, and it gave this weird, like small town, like suburb kind of a feel to it.
And I think it's
weird.
Personally, I think all that stuff is done better with a wink and a nod than being so in your face about it. And with that being said, please hold on. Do you want to keep up to date on the maddest of the mad at the MadTrio podcast? Check out our social media feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or go to themadtrio.com. Like, that was my big issue with Smallville was how all of a sudden they were all over the place, and it just, you know, like the Luther was like his best friend in school type of thing. I don't like that because that's not even realistic. Like, everybody would know who Clark Kent is without his glasses, because at some point in time they saw him fall off. He was cleaning his glasses. It's the stupidest premise. And you're talking about a guy who, you know, a character who's from another planet. I mean, so come on, it's
he
really
accidentally
unrealistic.
melts a candle from 100 yards away because he took his glasses off. And
you know, you guys got to watch.
We're just pretending like that didn't happen.
Hey,
what?
But Rob just said, I do. So I got one question. Do you think if they did a live action version of the Mask of the Phantasm, if they brought that character in and they did it right, do you think it would be any good?
No.
You know, I don't think they need to. I mean, because that's a pretty standalone kind of a story. That's the kind of thing they do in the animated movie stuff nowadays. Like the DC animated universe is fantastic. They do these little one-offs that are amazing.
$50 say Disney's going to own DC too.
Well, man,
God, that'd be weird.
Wouldn't that be awful?
No, I don't think.
I hope that doesn't happen.
That's Warner Brothers' bread and butter.
No, DC's closing. They're going out of business.
They were talking about the comics division.
I'd say, you know, I'm hoping. I want to see an X-Men, like a Wolverine Batman crossover. Instead of the Ninja Turtles Batman.
Oh, God.
Oh, Stan.
That Ninja Turtles Batman was actually pretty good.
It was entertaining, but it was random.
I kind of agree. That actually was pretty good.
Very random, but it was also very funny. Speaking of random, there's that Mel Gibson movie I really want to watch. I've been meaning to talk to James about this.
Is it his new one?
Yeah, the new. I can't remember. Damn it, what it's called. But it's basically about Santa Claus, like Kris Kringle, played by Mel Gibson.
Oh, you're talking about the Mel Gibson one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call it Bad Santa, but I know it's not that. It
gets into some contract with like the U.S. government, and some girl's trying to like hire an assassin to kill him because she got a lump of coal.
Yeah.
Like the premise of it was just like, wait, what? And it's a rated R Mel Gibson action movie.
Yeah, it's like the Santa or something. I don't know.
This is
something like that. What it's called. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it yet, though.
What's it called?
Damn it, I'm going to have to look it up. Hold on.
That's hilarious. I'm looking for the most recent movie.
I can't even find it either.
And IMDb saying Braveheart. It's like, nah, he's done more since
You and I are
then.
hitting the same thing. All they want to talk about is the Golden Globes. And who even watched it? That asshole Borat wins something again.
Fat Man.
God.
Oh, Fat Man.
Fat Man.
Yes, that's it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see it. I heard about it. I
It's
haven't
called
seen
Fat
it.
Man.
Echo.
His timing was great.
Yeah, it says a rowdy, unorthodox Santa Claus is fighting to save his declining business. Meanwhile, Billy, a neglected and precocious 12-year-old, hires a hitman to kill Santa after receiving a lump of coal.
Yeah. Anyways.
It's like NBC's got a new show on.
I heard it was good, but I haven't seen it yet.
So is it like? So it's like Payback with. So it's like Payback with Santa Claus. I'd
That's
watch it.
straight up how I was imagining it.
If it was that good, I would totally watch it.
That still is one of my
Well-
favorite Mel Gibson movies of all time is Payback. Just such a simple storyline, A to B, lots of killing, comedy, and that's it.
Yep.
That's it. I
Yep,
mean,
and-
just a
and just-
fantastic film.
You know,
Yeah, just fantastic. It knew what it was. It executed it perfectly. And it was Mel Gibson's heyday. I mean, when he just looked at everybody and kind of like snarled at him and shit. It's like, yep, this is badass.
Yeah.
so let me ask you a
It
question.
was the John Wick before John Wick.
So we started out
Well, it's
talking.
like Shoot 'em up.
Right.
Shoot 'em up was basically the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Anyways, go on, Rob. Sorry.
So we started talking about historical figures and people that we thought were great people and turned out to be bad people. And this brings into the same thing like with Mel Gibson. Are you able to separate out the actor from the movies that he portrays?
Yeah,
So, I mean, he could
very-
just be a horrible, awful person, yet you're cool with his movies.
yeah.
Well, look, would I
think that
go
was
hand
most
you
actors.
$20 so I can watch Braveheart? No, but like, is Braveheart on? And are a lot of people benefiting from that movie? It's not just Mel Gibson that made that movie. There's a lot of people, producers, etc., who had nothing to do with his personal life that benefit from that movie doing well also.
I mean,
So, and it's not even out of some moral thing where I don't want to punish the key grip for, somebody's actions. Like it's a character, it's a movie. That's not the person.
I mean, there's plenty of actors who've done crappy things in their life, yet their movies have been good.
Sure.
So in Mel Gibson's case, I mean, we get with guys who's homophobic, who's anti-Jewish,
but he's apologized for all of that.
Okay, that does bring up the question: when does somebody say, "Hey, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Let's move along"?
He's been apologizing for years and years.
Yeah.
I'm not even. I don't want to pick on Mel Gibson. I just want to say, we started talking about other people in history that are just been awful, horrible people.
I get you.
Yeah. So I thought, all right, here's the segue into it.
There needs to be a path to redemption on those kinds of things. I mean, look, there's certain things everybody can agree is, sort of the unforgivable territory. You hurt kids, you murder somebody, like things like that. Some like crazy abusive relationship, like we found out you've just been beating your wife for 20 years. Like, yeah, maybe go jump in a lake, but I got drunk and angry and yelled at my girlfriend for a couple of years, and it was a toxic relationship. And I got pulled over drunk. Those sorts of like Mel Gibson level kind of things. It's like, okay, Mel Gibson's kind of a dick, and then people will remember that for a while. And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, hey, you know what? What's done is done. He seems to have moved along. I guess people need to be able to see an individual if one gives a shit enough, I guess. Because it's not like something I follow day to day.
I personally think because what Mel Gibson in The Passion of the Christ, I think there's a couple things you don't do in Hollywood. Don't make fun of, don't be anti-Semitic, don't make money outside of Hollywood.
But and
I think that's what it is. I think the reason why they're so against Mel Gibson because because there is all that. I don't think it's the one thing. I think for Mel Gibson personally, it just added up enough that the Hollywood system itself says you broke the rules too many times. And Hollywood has rules.
Well, maybe it was just his turn to learn that rule. And then he's forgiven and he moves along because it didn't stop him from making a whole bunch of movies after that.
Yeah, but if you take a look at it, he hasn't been in the box office though. He's very few of his movies that he's been in have been box office hits if he hasn't directed them. Like he did one with Andrew Garfield that I still want to see about that guy.
Yeah, he's done a few things.
He did that movie, if I remember correctly, with that kid, that guy in real life refused to carry a firearm, but he was a medic. Something Ridge? I heard it's yes. I heard that's an
that is a good movie.
But if
Heartbreak Ridge was that Clint Eastwood flick.
That's right.
Clint Eastwood, yeah.
But none of his
Patriot? No.
But none of his movies, like since the incident with the cop, none of his movies have been like big box office. Are
you talking about when he was doing the Lethal Weapons series?
Well,
he did 3 of those.
4.
Four. Don't forget about the one with Chris Rock
and Jackie Chan.
Oh, heaven forbid!
Not Jackie Chan.
No, it wasn't Jackie Chan. I knew you were going to say that. It was Jet Li.
That's
Jet Li. Yeah.
But no, like ever since then, like any movie he's been in has been relegated to the B section.
Yeah, the bargain bin. He's the straight to DVD guy now.
Right, with Steven Seagal.
He's still a good actor, and it's not like he went along with his life. Like 6 months later, yelled at another cop and yelled at another girlfriend or whatever. He seemed to be genuinely remorseful about it and moved along with his life in a better direction. That's all I ever want to see.
So let me ask a question. Let's flip this because
we live in a post-forgiveness world.
We seem to be in a position of looking at things at a different world in a different light. Let's flip this to a female. Do we know a female actress that has just been labeled horribly awful, terrible bitch?
Amber Heard.
And where has her film career gone?
Gina's got pulled from Mandalorian, but allegedly she got another movie from Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, they're trying to get her back.
Amber Heard allegedly beat the shit out of Johnny Depp and allegedly just got canceled from Aquaman 2. I don't know how Aquaman 2 didn't get canceled, but allegedly she's gotten removed from that because of... I've heard issues because of allegedly what happened to Johnny Depp to something else. So,
yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a double standard there.
I don't think it's.
I do always try to kind of check that. Like, okay, would I do this? Would I have the same opinion if it was a female or a male, or try to reverse the roles?
Right.
It's a good question to ask yourself for real. Yeah, I can't think of an example off the top of my head of somebody who we did see with that kind of path to redemption.
What's her name? That comedian who had that picture of Kathy Griffin. She since she did that, she kind of
she's been trying to repent for holding up Trump's cut off severed head. That kind of went bad on her.
See, I just think we live in a post-forgiveness world. When you have cancel culture, you have all this stuff. When people don't want to see you, like when I was a kid, it seemed like when people failed, everybody was for the underdog story. It's like Mel Gibson. Once he really screwed up, he was the underdog. Everybody wanted to see him, okay, he's got to do better. He's Mel Gibson instead of, that's the way I view it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this one is going to be good for maybe a little research for next week. Take a look and see if we can't find examples the same way, because it's got to be the other way. I mean, you hear all the time about these actresses being blackballed because they're a bitch or they're hard to work with or they don't do the casting couch.
That happened with Megan Fox with one of Transformers movies because allegedly her and who was the director of the Transformers movie? Michael Bay. Allegedly there was issues with Michael Bay and her, and she got relegated to the first movie. She was a decent character, had a little bit of depth for what you can get in that movie, and was attractive. To the second movie, all she was there was just for the looks. And so she did something, and there's a lot. Britney Spears is the same way, where the media was against her. So I think it's more the other way around. Than I think the media is automatically against a lot of these female celebrities versus the male stars. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, I'm sitting here looking. Should we not be saying, okay, let's have some female examples examples where it goes the other way, and we could probably make more females than males. Just because women are so easily cast aside as, being that bitch or whatever it may be, and it's more difficult for them.
I guess the question is,
it definitely is. Matter of fact, my girlfriend just earlier was bringing up about how part of like the Harvey Weinstein things, blackballing certain people. I think Ashley Judd she brought up as an example of. And as soon as she said Ashley Judd, I'm like, yeah, she kind of did like fall off the radar after a while, and she was one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, right.
But like apparently had turned down some kind of advance or something like that, and then next thing you know, Peter Jackson, who was thinking of casting her in Lord of the Rings, gets a call from Weinstein saying that she's difficult to work with, and they had a bad experience with her, and it was all because she wouldn't like blow him or some nonsense like that. But that's not the story that got told to her peers,
right?
Harvey Weinstein.
You're getting this other story. You didn't hear the story about how he, his piggy fat ass tried to come onto her all weird and creepy. Like
he was the shower.
You heard the story of like, oh, she's just difficult.
Weinstein was because I just thought he was the perv in the shower thing.
It was just a plain perv. Jerk.
Yeah.
Just bad. Just a bad person overall.
Yeah, he was the plain, you want to work in this business, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a good person. Well, so, I think maybe it'd be interesting to find out more, because I know there are plenty. And as a matter of fact, with the Golden Globes that were on yesterday, there were a number of actresses that were talked about having difficulty within Hollywood and what they experienced because of the perception that they're difficult to work with.
Now, I do have a quick question. Like, we'll talk about Mel Gibson.
And Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
Not Ted Cruz.
Cruz Bustamante?
Oh, man.
Well, you think about that. Here's my question.
Tom Cruise. Oh, Jesus, I'm sorry about that. How difficult Tom Cruise is to work with, yet he gets all the blockbusters anyway. I mean, he's known for chewing out set members.
That's a Scientology thing.
I don't know if he's known for chewing out set members the way that video portrayed him. I don't know if I would.
Do you think that is his normal thing, or that was a one-off?
I think that particular thing was sort of a one-off. But at the same time, he is very much known for being a perfectionist. I am not some kind of Tom Cruise apologist. I think him as a human being is one of the oddest people on the planet, which is saying a lot for an actor, Yeah. But like he definitely is that perfectionist type and wants to hold people to his kind of a standard, which I respect the shit out of.
I do have a quick...
If I got paid the same amount that he does, I'd respect the hell out of him.
I do have a question.
And, the reason he was going off on that guy is he put up a shit ton of money to make sure that set was safe, and now he's the one guy putting it at jeopardy.
So I did want to say we're talking about the difference between, say, Mel Gibson and, say, like Britney Spears or Megan Fox. The difference on that, though, is, to me, is Mel Gibson got pulled over drunk, said some sexist remarks, then followed it by, one-upping it more and being anti-Semitic remarks. And then towards, say, like, some of these ladies is because they're female and they were standing up to themselves. If you want to compare apple to oranges, I guess I think you'd have to find somebody who fell that big, who did something that everybody agrees on that was bad. That's why I brought up Gina.
Fell that big that publicly, Yeah. Like, I mean, how many of these things happen that it's not picked up by TMZ or leaked phone calls and things like that.
Right now, I just don't think it's as common. I think. And I could be wrong. I think right now that's just a male thing. I think the thing the women deal with is the other way around, is, the legacy of the casting couch. They all, because they're female now, they're difficult to work with, and they do, they want to do that. The only thing I could think of is like Gina, but that was definitely in the court of public opinions that everybody thought what she did was wrong. And I don't know enough.
Okay.
Like I know what she said. I don't know. You
bring up another really good point. Now we're talking about social media, and what you should say if you're in the public, what you can say on your social media, whatever it may be, versus what you can't say, because you might lose your job. And we're getting hypersensitive on this.
I think for Gina thing, my personal opinion is, even if she was, you know, anti-Semitic or anti-trans, it's like, don't say stuff like that. Don't be stupid and say it in a public forum. Basically, social media is a public forum. If you're not going to say it in a room full of crowded people, don't say it on social media.
All you have to do is say something that's taken wrong by one particular group and you get labeled. Two good examples of this is Ken Jennings, who is the guest host, or was the guest host of Jeopardy that took over for Alex Trebek. Okay. And he got out on the social media and he said something that some people took the wrong way. Next thing you know, he's out of that job. He's not going to get that. So and it wasn't really offensive. And the host of, and trust me, folks, it's not a show that I watch, but the host of The Bachelorette, 20 years he's been the host of this Bachelorette. He goes on and says something stupid on his social media post. Next thing you know, he loses his job. So where do their right to say, you know, if it's not, you know, baby rapers and horrible things, they just make an opinion. Where do they lose their right of opinion because they're going to be on some television show?
Well, I think right now it's because it's and this isn't a great way to put it, so forgive me. It's the thing of the month. It's like when Me Too happened, everybody got tied up in the wake of that. The good people and the bad people who were doing stupid things, like Al Franken got caught taking, you know, allegedly doing, you know, a picture of a very inappropriate picture, but I don't know enough to make him quit Congress.
It's pretty creepy anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do what he did because I thought that was wrong, but it's not, you know, so the question is this just the thing of the month? Is this going to die down? Because if you see what happened to Me Too,
I don't think it's ever going to die down.
Me Too caught a bunch of people who needed to be caught, and it's died down enough where people are like, okay, did this person do this or do that? Now the question is this just the really hot thing right now, and eventually it'll calm down?
Or are we holding people accountable for what they're going to say in public?
I think it's both. And I think that it's one of those, like, is it better with some collateral damage versus no one gets caught kind of thing, you know, like, because this is going to be a thing that exists as long as social media exists, because people have realized the power that they wield. You know, it's like, hey, I found a place where my vote actually counts, you know, as opposed to, like, let's say the U.S. government, for example. Unless you're in a swing state, then, hey, there you go. But
disclaimer.
The point is that on the everyone gets counted on the internet, and all you got to do is co-sign, you know, this particular opinion, and you can make things happen, you know, via getting somebody fired or blacklisted or whatever. That's a power that's not going to be given up freely.
I have another question. I guess, and this is something I've been thinking about recently. Now let's say about the Me Too and some of the stuff that's happened, like Al Franken, for example, you know, kind of hovering over the lady's chest. Who gets to say that's appropriate or not? Or like Gina and the alleged trans problem, the trans thing, which I'll be honest, I didn't get her trans comment. And I'm pro with that as you can get. So I guess the question is, who gets to say that's right or not? And I'm not quite sure, like, if you make an inappropriate black joke, can only the African-American community say that was inappropriate or we're okay? Or is that, I mean, I guess I don't understand. How do I say this? I mean,
there's also, and who speaks for all black people? Who speaks for all trans people? I mean, you know, it's these things. And then not to mention, it's this ever moving goalpost. You know, that's the line right now, but and then a week from now it moves so fast
something
that
different.
You don't even.
I've got an actor I can make an example of, and you guys tell me, maybe I'm missing the boat here. Do you guys remember Isaiah Washington? Big time actor. He was a doctor on Grey's Anatomy. He was one of the very first original cast members.
I vaguely remember him.
See, now here's an interesting thing, and this is what I was bringing up. He got fired from Grey's Anatomy for making a homophobic slur. Okay. And there's a guy off of that. And I think this goes back to, I don't even have
what was
the
slur? Was it the F word?
No, I believe he was making slurs about gay people.
No, the F word for gay people.
Oh, I don't have a clue. It doesn't matter. All I know is that he supposedly made the slur. He made an apology. He was fired from the set. And there's an actor that I haven't seen or heard from him almost since.
I guess that's the question is, to him, was it worth going back to acting?
Oh, you know what? I can't speak for the man, but I don't know.
Because I could see, and I wouldn't. So
the opposite, if we take the same show, the opposite is one by the name of Katherine Heigl.
Yeah.
Right?
She's been called difficult for a long time.
From everything. Still to this day, she's talked about being difficult or labeled difficult. And from what I hear from the actors or the directors that work with her, she's not difficult.
And she's one of my favorite actresses too.
She got labeled that way. And it's like she can't shake it. So it doesn't take much, I guess, if you're in the world of Hollywood and you're in the stardom world to ruin your career if you're not careful of what you open your mouth with.
And I'm kind of guessing some people out there are saying, well, this is Hollywood, so this is yada, 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 yada. But my question is, say if it was your mom or your wife that got labeled this, or say if you made an inappropriate, joke about a woman to a female coworker. I'm trying to bring up
you're in HR right away.
Bringing the fact that where's the real world implication for this? I mean, and that's kind of what I wanted, because we're running up to the end here. And my question, if you're listening, where does forgiveness come from? Because this is really what we're talking about is who gives the right to say, okay, dude, you screwed up. You need to do better. You got to do this, and 50 Hail Marys. I guess
atone for your sin.
Yeah. So I guess
you said it's the court of public opinion, and once they make their mind up, you're screwed.
Yeah, pretty much.
I hate that though. I want to see people. I want to see like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon 5, and or Indiana Jones 6, the Geriatric Crusade. I'd love to see all these people who have failed or done things horrible, like Al Franken. I don't like the guy to save my life, but I'd love to see a redemption story so he can do what he does.
Defended to death his right to not say it, but apologize
like
for
Ryan and I agree on this. I'll defend your right to be an asshole. I'm not going to defend your right to get repercussions from it. It's
to not get repercussions. Yeah,
I 100% agree in free speech. But also free speech has its. You got to know when to say it. You can say whatever you want, but I wouldn't be in the middle of Compton and make black marks like African American comments. So you got to choose your audience. I don't know. I don't like the way the world is going.
So you have to know when when to put on your mute switch,
and to know when not to say it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. I mean,
well, that's common sense, John, and common sense is not for everyone.
Or common.
The other thing is,
it should be common for everyone, but it is not.
It is not.
Do you think it's also maybe a society with lack of self-reflection? I was talking to a friend about this last week about self-reflection and trying to know who you really are, because there's a view that you have of yourself, there's a view of other people having yourself of you, and somewhere in the middle is the real you. You think it's that, is the people don't see themselves as who they are. Like somebody who's racist doesn't see they're racist, for example.
I think that's a part of it as well, but I think it's, as I just said, it's common sense, and not to say anything about Mel Gibson, but most of his comments that he made, he was drunk, so his common sense was down.
That's true.
Not excusing his actions, but he was still drunk, inebriated. So, I think his common sense wasn't at its full function. So,
what was it?
He should have said it.
Or to quote a Dragnet line from the 60s, the drink comes in, the truth comes out.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. The point is that alcohol just seems to make it easier for people to say the things that they're thinking anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So.
And
and I'm not trying to justify or even know what, I'm just not about Mel Gibson, but there is a version of that where people get drunk or angry enough, let's say, not even necessarily under the influence of something, that that say the most hurtful things they can think of at that moment because that's how much pain they're in, or that's how much anger they want to express. And you go right for the darkest shit you can think of.
It's scorched earth.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of an anger blind, and you're looking for something incredibly hurtful or whatever. Then immediately regret it. Now, I can't say that I personally go into a racist zone, or a homophobic zone when I get that angry, but I've definitely said shit out of anger that I immediately was like, oh, I'm a complete psychopath for saying that.
Oops.
So,
no, I think we've all done that. I mean, it's the old stick, open your mouth, stick your foot in. And I think everybody to agree has done that.
And I think, don't you think that even like somebody can still not somebody can not be racist, but they can still say like a racist word because they're so pissed off that they're saying whatever comes out of their head. So
I almost think that's environmental, if that makes any sense.
I very much agree.
Okay, so that's one of those things. So because it's never been ever, and maybe it has to do with my upbringing, but I never had that in my lexicon ever.
Well, you'd still have a limp if you did.
But I mean,
you're right.
You're right in the same way that we were saying common sense is not common. That's a learned behavior.
Right.
Those things of to do and what not to do and why this particular thing makes sense is learned behavior. Maybe not every single one of them, but like one small thing you learned in your upbringing informs all sorts of decisions later on.
Or social groups.
They weren't about that specific thing. Social groups, I mean, environment plays so much a factor in what is normal to you or what's abhorrent, or you know what I mean? Like go cuss around, talk like me around somebody whose parents had never swore.
Right.
They'd look at me like this foul mouthed person.
I bet
I don't think
we're watching the devil incarnated. Right
I bet he works with dead bodies, the pervert.
I mean, real clutch and pearls kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? But you talk to other people who had the same kind of upbringing, who didn't, think about like, let's say swearing as some kind of a thing. And it's just like, hey, look, this is just how people talk sometimes. Okay.
So we're pretty much,
we're up.
We're out of time. So, but we're going to finish this up. So everybody's going to get a last chance to say something.
We are.
Yes. Oh. I would say.
I'm just going to cuss for 5 minutes at the end of this. That's what we're leading up to.
But you only get 15 seconds.
I would say I think we need as a society to figure out how to forgive people and give a path to redemption, and B, realize that what you say, like internet isn't real life. What you say on the internet should not be acted or said in IRL.
Well, and you know what? You as an individual, you out there in podcast land are not the arbiter of morality. Don't walk around like your shit doesn't stink.
Good point.
It's up to you to vote with your dollars and not see the next Mel Gibson movie, not call the studio and bitch them out for not doing enough. Let those things, unless it's criminal, that's a different story entirely. If it's criminal, hey, let's all get up in arms and grab some pitchforks. Let's go. But it just this hurt my feelings. Stop being a whiny baby.
I know he's being a hypocrite.
Well, okay, pitchforks in the form of like some protest sign or something. Let's get out there like some hippies with some signs.
Hey, I resemble everyone.
Hey, not just the hippies aren't the only ones who protest.
All right.
Well, no, as the old guy once told me, the difference between me and hippies of my generation. I said, "What's that?" I said, "I used to shower."
Yeah. No, hippies these days are posers.
So
yeah, they're not the
James, do you have anything to add?
Take their card away from them.
Stay constipated.
Stay constipated. Hold your shit is what you're saying, huh?
In James' old inimitable ethnic fashion, Rob.
So, just out of a quirky thing to watch, if you guys have, God, I believe it was Netflix. I'm always looking for different shows to watch, and a show that came up to watch was Queen's Gambit. And if you guys haven't watched that series, it's the very strangest thing to watch, but it kept me absolutely fascinated about this woman
completely captivating. Yeah.
Grows up becoming this chess champion, and you just got to watch it. My recommendation for the week.
Even if you don't like chess, it has nothing to do with your particular interest in chess.
Not at all.
You don't have to know anything about chess. You might catch some of the more inside things, but it's not like it's just full of inside baseball. Yeah. It's a fantastic, and it's a mini series. It's just a limited series.
Yeah, I think
it's like 8 episodes and it's done.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
So,
that's my recommendation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please do us a favor. If you've watched Queen's Gambit, let the old guy or James or whoever know. We're kind of curious in your opinion. And as always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.
And Return to Pooh Corner? What the hell was that voice at the end?